Hello, it's Dan, the real estate guy, coming to you from my home office once again. And we're moving into the part here now that you're going to be selling the property. You used a method to get the property. You've fixed up the property as we talked about in the last block. Now you're going to put that property on the market and sell it. Now, when you purchased the property, you already had an idea of what you were going to sell it for. Otherwise, you wouldn't have bought it. All right? But it's time to relook at the comps in case any of the pending sales became solds. Right? When they were pending, you couldn't see the sold price, you could only see the asking price. So now you're going to go back and make sure you don't need to make any adjustments in what you thought you could get for this. Heck, sometimes you get a nice surprise. There was two of the same model that were pending and they closed above their asking price. Now, there was probably a seller credit to the buyer, I get all that. But the point is you have two better comps than you were expecting. You were hoping they closed at the asking price. You were hoping they didn't take a much lower price and close and become a low comp, which will happen to you from time to time. But you just found out that everything's good. You can ask the price that you originally thought, or maybe you can ask a little bit more. Now, it doesn't hurt while you're doing the work to put a for sale sign up in the front yard and start collecting buyers' names. You know, some people would say, oh, that's bad, that's not good first impression. No, all you're doing is collecting some folks' names and numbers that you may be able to sell on this property when it's done. Some of them are going to be anxious and want to see it now, and you caution them. When you caution them that the work is in progress, they always picture it being worse than it is. And when they go and look at it, they see that it's coming together and it's going to be like a brand new home when you're done with it. Right? Some folks will want to buy right now. They've been beat out on listings that they tried to get, but there was multiple offers. They're in a situation now where they're making an offer to you when it's not on the market. They can get pretty excited about that opportunity. So a sign in the yard is not a bad situation while you're working on it. Another thing you can do when you're going out to the property, check on work and things, you might see a neighbor. Go ahead and talk to them. Let them know. I always like to let the neighbors know, hey, this is a chance for you to choose your new neighbor. Otherwise, you're just taking a chance on whoever buys it on the open market. So if you think of a friend or a relative or someone you spoke to at work that asked you about your neighborhood, they're looking for a home in this price range, let them know it's going to be coming up on the market. Always price win-win. You know, don't reach for the sky. There's going to be some hot markets where you can go above the last comp of the same type property. That's fine, I understand that. That's when supply is low and demand is high. Right now, I think you have to price it fair and hope that you get a buyer fairly quickly so you can move on to the next transaction. Remember, as an investor that's buying and selling properties, it's to your advantage sometimes to give a little bit of equity away, get that property sold faster, and go get the next transaction. All right? Don't think about this one and trying to squeeze every last dollar out of it. If you have to go, guy makes you an offer of $10,000 below what you think is retail, you know he's probably thinking you're going to counter him halfway. What if you countered him a little bit to his side? I do that all the time. You know, I think they want me to counter him at halfway. Once in a while, I'll either surprise him with an acceptance or I'll make my counter offer very gentle. I just did this on a duplex where they offered I was asking $139, right? And they came in at $125. I know they're expecting a counter offer, but all I did was pop $3,000 on there for me because it makes a difference to me. And I didn't think it would make a difference to them. So I counted at $128 and they took it. They probably expected me to go a little higher and they probably were prepared to take it. But I want them to be fired up about this transaction. I want them to be excited. I want them that every time the lender asks them to jump through another hoop, they gladly jump through the hoop because after all, they're capturing a little bit of equity. They've got a reason to stay in this transaction even if the lender puts them through the ringer to get their loan, which is happening a lot in my marketplace. So you're always providing the best product at the best price. If you have to give them a little equity to keep them excited throughout the transaction, do it. You're always going to be reacting to the marketplace. In some markets, you got to give a lot of equity away to keep people in. And other times, you don't have to. You'll have multiple offers. You're then just trying to pick the best qualified buyer who's going to close. If If you're doing a rental property like this duplex I just told you about, you're going to use gross rent multiplier. And we'll talk about that on a complete video done on duplex sales. But a gross rent multiplier, for example, just to give you an idea, is you take the gross rents of that duplex. Let's say it's $800 a side, that's $1,600 a month, times 12. That's its gross annual rent. In my marketplace right now, a fair price might be 8 times its rent, 7.5 to 8.5, depending on how good the location is. Now you should know, for years and years and years, it was 12. You could get 12 times your rent. Right now the market's softer on the duplex side. It seems to be coming back a little bit, and I'm going to sell about 4 of mine, where a year ago I couldn't come up with a gross rent multiplier. Nobody wanted them, right? In the height of the market, the top, people were paying 22 times gross rent. That didn't make any sense at all. I knew it wasn't going to work. And so there'll be a lot of foreclosures on duplexes in my county, and whenever the bid's low enough, I'm going to grab them and get them operating. You're usually vacant when you buy them, and you got to put money in them. And I want to provide a turnkey product. I want to provide an investor an opportunity to buy a duplex with both sides rented. He's buying a cash flow. So something to think about there. You're always thinking in terms of supply and demand. When you're pricing these properties, when you're selling these properties, what's going on in your marketplace? You know, how many closings are going on per month? How much is your inventory? You know, our inventory recently, ours has creeped up a little bit, indicating some stuff's not selling as fast as it was. We had 6,500 properties on the market in our county for quite some time, and it rolled up to 8,400. All right? More properties coming on, a few less properties selling. It's okay. There's still 1,600 closings per month. When that number drops below 1,000, it will have my attention. If it drops below 500, it'll have my attention a lot. Okay? I'm just trying to be 1, 2, or 3 of those. So theoretically, even if there were 700 or 800 sales a month, I should be able to, by providing the best product at the best price, I should be able to sell, be 1, 2, or 3 of those sales. I'm not trying to be a big part of the market here. I'm just trying to move my product. I'm trying to find out what the buyers want and give it to them. All right? You can try a little for sale by owner, or you can list your properties. I put all mine in multiple listing. I believe in that product. I believe in that method of getting them sold. Once in a while mine sell before they make it into multiple listing. That's fine. I appreciate that when that happens. You can try Craigslist. If you list it with an agent, they're probably listing them on Craigslist anyways. They're probably doing a little advertising there or other places. You've got word of mouth. You've got the signs that we mentioned, and we have the neighbors. But bottom line is, what sells a property is price and condition. If you've got one of the best prices and the best condition for your neighborhood, you're going to get that property sold. And after all, that's the exciting part. I love getting them sold. Even when they're sold, us investors have a saying, it's not closed until it's closed. These deals are hard to get closed sometimes. It seems like every closing lately feels like a victory, It's a nice victory. That'll change, markets change. People are having a hard time jumping through the hoops to get their loans right now. And sometimes a 30-day escrow takes about 90 days, So that stuff happens. You need to get in touch in your area with what's going on in your area, because understanding the sales part of it is going to influence when you're buying something. If you need to adjust your carrying costs because you're going to own it longer than you thought, for example, you'll be adjusting that. As you fix up the first property and it follows the 2 golden rules of real estate, it costs a little more than you thought, takes a little bit longer. Learn from that. Adjust your formula for the next purchase. We're constantly adjusting our formulas. Things change. You need to stay up on top of it. In the trades right now, people are willing to work for less money than they were willing to work for when the market was hot. So there's always good news in there mixed in with the rougher news, right? When I want a contractor to start, sometimes he can start today. The top of the market, they might be booked out for a week or 2. So it's all changing all the time. You're becoming part of the market. You see, I consider what I do, I'm just part of the market. I'm in this marketplace. I understand the supply. I know how to get the product. I understand the demand. I'm trying to get product for what's in demand. That's all. They need income properties, duplexes and fourplexes. Let me get those for them. Single family buyers need single families in certain areas they like. I want to get some of those for them. So I'm just trying to feed a market. As long as there's a market, as long as people can get a loan and buy, I'm going to provide that product. I'll see you on the next video. Thank you.